blessed to have another friend as we're traveling back east to Denver, Colorado. Founder at Retention and Rewards Partners, the amazing Greg Roche in the house.
Hey, good to be on with you guys.
And
Hey,
welcome to
Greg.
episode
How are
triple
you,
eight.
Greg?
Doing well, doing well.
We were just talking about different hybrid approaches in the workplace, and I thought it was apropos to have you on as well. You and I both share a playbook of relationship capital and understanding three different areas for you and your expertise. One, talent acquisition; two, talent development; and then three, talent retention. And you're looking at organizations and their internal relationships to
Mhm.
help facilitate all three, I imagine. Um, where does the rewards partners come in? I understand the retention, but it seemed
Sure.
like a unique proposition to the space of retention and rewards.
Yeah. So a little bit about my background, real quick. I came out of the total rewards space, or I'm actually still in the total rewards space, meaning I held corporate roles with um, big companies doing employee compensation, benefits, things like that. And that was always kind of my background. What I would commonly run into was Monday morning, I'd have a manager frantically call me up and say, "Hey, my top performer just resigned. We got to do a counter offer." And I would say, "Great, we'll put it together, but this person's already gone. They're already gone. They've left us." And through that experience, I kind of sort of, I would say, reverse engineered, where does somebody get to at the point where, not when they have the offer, because that's too late, but before they got the offer, they had to have interviews, they had to meet with people, they had to know about the job, they either took a call from a recruiter or they applied to the job. So what was going on that day when they were feeling like it was time to go look for something else? And so that's where the sort of rewards and retention comes in. The retention is more around, let's think about how we connect people inside the organization so that when they're feeling like work was tough today, that instead of picking up the call from the recruiter, they've got somebody else in the organization, that not their boss, not their, not a leader, but somebody could say, "Hey, work was kind of rough today, and I need to talk to somebody about it, and I need to, really just kind of vent about it." And I think so many workplaces today are being designed, or are a design is happening where people are not connected, right? They may be remote, they may be hybrid, and everybody's not in the office at the same time. Even before all that, people are just, we have technology, we've got Slack, we got Teams, we got everything else. People just aren't talking to each other. They're not having conversations to get to know each other. Maybe they're talking about work, but they're not really feeling connected to the organization. And so when they don't feel connection, they're going to, be not tied to the organization. They're going to be likely to leave. And so what I kind of, I have another piece of my life that I teach people how to grow their professional networks. And so one of the things through that work is understanding how people could do that internally at organizations and what the benefits would be to the organization if they were retaining more people because they were encouraging this internal networking to happen within the organization. And a lot of the same principles of networking out in the world to find a job or find business apply internally. And the benefits are, you can not only retain people, but you're going to break down those silos that you see in the workplace. You're going to have faster collaboration, better communication. Things are going to get done much more quickly. And then, as you mentioned, if you've got people who are familiar with how to connect, how to think about connecting, how to think about their networking, that can tie right into your talent acquisition. That ties into your talent management, where as people know who's who in the organization and they've had these relationships, now your talent management kind of takes on a life of its own. Right? You've met people in other parts of the organization and they say, "Greg seems like he's doing a really good job in his role right now. He seems like he's got a lot of the skills because I've talked to Greg. I didn't just see his name on a spreadsheet or some score of or some courses he's taken, but I know Greg, and I think Greg would be a great add to my team." So now I'm going to, promote Greg internally because I've talked to him, I know him, I have a relationship with him. So a lot of these things that we put in place, like, again, recruiting and referral programs and all those things, when you show your employees how to connect, internally and connect with other people, you're supporting all those other functions so that your employees and the rest of your workforce sort of handle a lot of the issues that a lot of us in HR have to deal with because people don't talk, people don't communicate.
I have a question. So thank you so much, Greg. It's amazing. It really is a beautiful niche that you're in. It's almost like a blue ocean niche. I can see that now. And you talk a lot about relationship first workplace culture, right? What would you say are the biggest mistakes companies make in hybrid environments that quietly destroy trust and collaboration in a way that's like insidious and you don't see it until after it hits?
Yeah. It's all, and I understand why they do it. To me, it's mostly because it's all tried to be controlled from the top down. And we want to roll out a program where the leaders decide, hey, this is how people should connect. We're going to have this, on-sites where everybody's got to get together, which there's nothing wrong with those. But if that's all you're doing, you've got about half your people who are probably pretty introverted and don't really like big, huge company meetings where they're supposed to get to know people and make those connections. So they'll show up, but they'll just kind of sit in the back and wait till it's over. Or, you say, we are going to tell you who you should go connect with. We're going to try to create a mentor program. We're going to assign you a mentor. And you can't, it's all well intended, but at the same time, that's not how you develop relationships. You develop relationships by who are you interested in? Who are you curious about? Who do you want to talk to? Who do you want to get to know? And so it's more about how can you build a framework for people to do that on their own, sort of at a more natural grassroots type of level than mandating everybody's going to be in the office on these days. Okay, I get that. We want people in the same physical space, but now it doesn't feel like hybrid anymore. Now it's like I have to be here. We all have to be at the same time. I think it's just that sort of top-down command and control approach to it. And I think that's what turns a lot of people off is you don't think I'm an adult. You don't trust me. You're not telling me how my interactions have to go. But organizations like that makes them feel like they're doing something. That makes them feel like they're taking action. That makes them feel like, hey, we've addressed your concerns on the engagement survey. We've done some stuff. And again, what I would focus on is how, as a manager, and that's what I like to try to teach managers and teach leaders, how do you foster this culture of collaboration or this culture of connection within your organization without it being sort of a mandate, which is how do you give people ideas on this? And so one of these things is, we've all worked in organizations where we get emails from people all day. And that email, when it comes in your inbox, it's just a name in the from line, and do you have emails? And this is what I would say to a manager or leaders, ask your team, do you get emails from people and you see the names and you've never talked to the person? You've never actually had a conversation with that person? And if that's the case, I would say, what you need to do? What you need to do is pick up the phone, or you need to, send an email or set up time, and you need to have a 15-minute conversation with that person. Don't call them up about a work issue. Don't call them up and just say, hey, I'm supposed to call you and talk to you. Call them up and say, hey, I realize I get emails from you all the time. I don't really know a lot about your backstory. So how did you get here? How'd you get in this role? How did you come to work here? What is it that, got you here? What keeps you here? And that's only about 15 minutes. I mean, it might go on a little bit longer than that, but you just do that. And now that you've had that conversation, there's a connection there, more than there was on the emails. And so doing something that simple is something that if you do that repeatedly, if people intentionally do that, you're going to create a lot more connection. You're going to spark those conversations that lead people to be like, I know the people I work with. They're not just names in the from line of the email.
Beautiful. Poonam, bring us home.
Greg, I love what you do in the humanistic approach that you bring, but you talk about something called the introverted networker, I believe, or I might switch them around.
Yep.
There's a big skill, without sounding like a grandmother, that I learned as a new grad in law school, networking, screwing up the first time, the second time. With the current generation, a lot of people working remotely. I understand management has to do something, but there's this growing anxiety amongst people to go out and connect with people because everything's done on social media, over texting. How are you bridging that gap from the other end, from employees, to understand that networking is a huge aspect of your job, your career, your if they go on to entrepreneurship? It's got to be a two-way street.
Agree. And I think to answer your question, what I really try to focus on is giving people a new framework or perspective on networking. Because I think too often we sit here and we go, a networking is going to a big networking event where there's a room full of people. I've got to walk in there. Now I'm suddenly got to have a conversation with a bunch of strangers. And, I grew up texting and online and social. I don't have a lot of practice doing that. And so one of the way I approach that is we're not going to go to networking events. We're going to find people and we're going to maybe connect with them online. And maybe we start with a text-based interaction there. And then we're going to work towards a voice-to-voice conversation one-on-one. And it's just as easy as that one I talked about, internal networking, which is, ask the other person about themselves, right? So how do you have this conversation? Ask the other person questions, ask them about themselves, ask them what they're looking forward to. What was the best thing that happened to them last week? And the context of these conversations, why you're on the call, it's going to depend on the situation. But the goal is to get them to talk about themselves and just listen. So for anybody who's like, I don't want to go in and talk and pitch myself, great, don't. Ask more questions, ask better questions. Let them talk and listen, and then try to help them out. You do that, most of the awkwardness goes away, and it just becomes a human conversation, and it's not this big, scary networking thing that most people have made up in their heads.
Yeah, most people just want to learn what people like, don't like, don't know, works and doesn't work. And any subject topic or expertise, we can ask questions about what they like, don't like, what works, what doesn't work, what they know and don't know. He's an expert in relationship capital, building businesses for talent acquisition, development, and of course, retention. The most valuable asset of every company is their talent and their people. And he's helping so many companies in that. Learn more about the retention and rewards partners at retentionandrewards.com. Thank you so much, Greg. We'll see you soon.
Thanks
Bye,
so
Greg.
much.